Attention please, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching, yes, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network.
Under a glorious Florida sun, the 2017 New York Yankees will lift the curtain on the newest edition of baseball's most iconic franchise. In a spring training that still has the stars associated with the stripes, there's also a new breed of bomber as the team trots out a younger, more athletic squad with an eye on the future but high aspirations for the present. Today, the Yankees begin their spring training schedule as they run onto the shimmering green grass here in Tampa, anxious to begin the organization's 115th season. Yes, after a long winter of looking ahead, we are here now as the Yankees are back, and it is time for baseball.
And the Yes Network presents New York Yankees baseball. Today, it's the New York Yankees against the Philadelphia Phillies here at George M. Steinbrenner Field in Tampa, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Yankees baseball along with Ken Singleton. I'm Michael Kay. We're so proud that this is the 16th year the Yankees will be on Yes, and this is a different Yankee team, Kenny. A lot of things to look at, a lot of things to judge. What are you looking for?
Well, Michael, it's always intriguing to watch the younger players come up to spring training camps and try to make a mark, open the eyes of the coaches and the manager and the general manager, hoping that they'll have a chance of making the team, maybe not this spring, but sometime in the future this year. The Yankees fans have seen players like Greg Bird and Aaron Judge. They've seen them at the big league level. These are some of the young players the Yankees are counting on. But there's several other players in camp this year, Yankees acquired in trades during last year, that could make the big leagues at some time this year. That's what I'm looking for.
Well, it should be fun. We'll have Meredith Marakovitz with us and Jack Curry. A lot of stories, a lot of things to look at when we come back. Lineups, first pitch, baseball's back. Coming up next, right here on Yes.
Today's Game on Yes is brought to you in part by Cadillac. Visit your Tri-State Cadillac dealer or CadillacTristate.com to learn more about our attractive lease and finance offers. Yeah, it's one of those days here in Florida, just a Chamber of Commerce sort of day, a postcard sort of day, as the Yankees and the Phillies begin their spring training schedule. The Yankees have taken the field, and the Phillies will come to bat. First batter is Cesar Hernandez, and he is going to face Brian Mitchell. And Brian certainly one of the young Yankees battling for that 4th and 5th spot in the Yankee rotation. Hernandez is ready. Mitchell is ready. And let's do it here at Steinbrenner Field. First pitch is fouled away, and we are underway.
Well, the conditions here this afternoon, as Michael described, the weather is just about perfect, but the wind is blowing in quite steadily from left towards right field. So anything hit towards right field might get a little bit of a boost today.
The 0-1 high. Mitchell, 25 years old. Last year, just 5 starts because of an injury. 1-2 with a 3.24 ERA. Slice the other way, foul.
That injury cost him a chance to make the team last spring. It appeared as though he was going to make the ball club, but towards the end of spring training, was injured covering first base. Eventually had to undergo toe surgery and missed most of the year.
1-2.
Let's check out our pitcher scouting report on young Mr. Mitchell. He was almost a Tar Heel. He's from Reidsville, North Carolina. He had his bags packed, ready to head off to the University of North Carolina. But then he signed with the Yankees at the last minute. Mid-90s fastball, also an excellent curveball, and we filled you in on the toe surgery.
The 1-2 upstairs.
And he has an opportunity, along with several other pitchers, to grab hold of one of the last 2 spots in the rotation. Adam Warren will be pitching tomorrow against these same Phillies over in Clearwater, and then Luis Severino will be back here on Sunday pitching for the Yankees against the Blue Jays.
I'm going to have that game for you right here on Yes. Now, in an era of Yankee baseball where there's so much enthusiasm about the young players coming up through the system, Brian Mitchell last year made the only Yankee start by a drafted pitcher from the organization. So they want more of those sorts of starts. 2-2 swung on and missed, and Hernandez down on strikes. Why don't we take a look at the Phillies lineup? Phillies last year at 71 and 91. We just saw Cesar Hernandez, and he's the second baseman. Batting second, playing center field, Roman Quinn. Daniel Nava, the DH, hits third. Tommy Joseph at first base cleans up. Then it's Coughlin, Goodell, and Knapp. And then the shortstop, J.P. Crawford. The third baseman is Hector Gomez.
That's manager Pete Mackanin in his 3rd year managing the Philadelphia Phillies. And I was talking to Pete before the game about the batter at the plate, Roman Quinn. He says he's very quick, switch hitter, can play center field, outside chance of making the team.
The 0-1.
If there's an injury and he's down at AAA, they'll think quite a bit about bringing him up.
Well, the Phillies certainly in a rebuilding phase. Last year they won 8 more games than they won the year before, but they still finished in 4th place, 24 games behind the Washington Nationals. Fly ball, left center, over his Hicks. He makes the play for the second out. Why don't we check out the Yankees defense? And we'll start with Hicks in left field. So Aaron's in left, Gardner's in center, and Aaron Judge is over and right. In the infield, it's Headley, Gregorius, Castro, and Bird. There's a good chance that could be your opening day infield. Gary Sanchez behind the plate. We told you about Brian Mitchell on the mound. Here's Daniel Nava, DHing today for the Phillies. Phillies train in Clearwater. About, what would you say, Kenny, 45-minute drive from here?
Maybe a little closer than that. It's just across the causeway. I'd give you 45 minutes with traffic.
Okay.
Which this time of year there can be quite a bit of in Florida.
The 1-0. Fly ball left field. Hicks is there, and a nice, easy 1-2-3 inning for Brian Mitchell. It's the Phillies nothing, and the New York Yankees coming to bat. Let's take a look at the Yankees starting lineup. That's going to come up against Alec Asher of the Phillies. Yankees will lead off their center fielder Brett Gardner. Batting second and playing shortstop Didi Gregorius. Gary Sanchez burst upon the scene last year with 20 home runs in 53 games. He'll catch and he'll hit third. Cleaning up a new Yankee free agent signing, Matt Holliday. Greg Bird coming back from injury will be at first base batting fifth. Batting sixth, playing second base, Starlin Castro. Chase Headley's at third base. He'll hit seventh. Batting eighth and playing left field, Aaron Hicks. And another Aaron Judge is in right field. He'll bat ninth.
On the mound for the Phillies today, 26-year-old right-hander Alec Asher. And those are his numbers from last year in Philadelphia. He spent most of the year in the minor leagues. Originally, he was drafted by the Texas Rangers. A young man from nearby Lakeland, Florida. He gets to start this afternoon. Let's check out the pitcher's scouting report. He was part of the package coming from Texas to the Phillies for Cole Hamels, who did a fine job with the Texas Rangers. His best pitch, probably his slider. And how about this, Michael? Tommy John surgery at the age of 14.
Wow. That's called little Tommy John surgery. So here's Brett Gardner, and comes into camp as one of the elder statesmen. Time has really flown by. Now, Gardner was talking yesterday, Kenny, and said, we all have to be a little bit more aggressive in scoring runs and taking the extra base and stealing bases. He said, we probably have not been as aggressive as we should be. And he's pretty much talking about he and Jacoby Ellsbury as he chops one to Hernandez, who flips over to first for the first out.
Well, Gardner, only 20 attempts, stolen bases last year, was successful on 16 of them. And I know that Joe Girardi sometimes got frustrated with Gardner's inability to run. He wanted him to take off and create some havoc on the bases.
There's Didi Gregorius. You know, Gardner spoke about this, Kenny. He said it's changed so much over the last 5-6 years. He said now there's guys that 1-2 to the plate. He said you just can't steal them. Gregorius hits one deep to right field. There it goes. See ya. A long home run to right center field. Yankees on the board, and they lead 1-0.
Wow. Welcome to spring training.
Well, maybe they don't have to steal bases.
Well, Didi had a career-high 20 home runs last year. And get a good look at him now, because he'll be off with several Yankees headed for the World Baseball Classic in a few days. But he's made an immediate imprint on the 2017 spring training session.
Well, here's Gary Sanchez in 53 games last year, 20 home runs, a .299 batting average. And had such an unbelievable 53 games, almost stole the Rookie of the Year award, but didn't get it. Michael Fulmer of the Tigers grabbed that award, and he deserved it.
Yeah, he did. But 42 runs batted in 53 games for Sanchez is nothing to sneeze at.
Consider this, what a difference a year makes. Sanchez came into camp last year. He was penciled in as the backup to Brian McCann. He had such a bad spring training. Austin Romine grabbed that spot. They sent Gary Sanchez down. Now, in 2017, Brian McCann's been traded away. Austin Romine's still here as the backup, and Gary Sanchez has the starting catcher role. That's what happened in a calendar year. 2-1. Chop second base. Hernandez. 2 down. Let's take a look at the Phillies defense. In the outfield, you have Tyler Goodell, Roman Quinn, and Chris Coughlin. That's left to right. Infield, Gomez, Crawford. You've seen Hernandez make a couple of plays at second. And Tommy Joseph over at first. Knapp behind the plate, and Asher is on the mound. Now here is one of the newest Yankees, Matt Holliday, signed to a 1-year deal. And he's going to be their primary DH this year.
Well, we mentioned the rookies and the young players throughout the Yankee camp, but this is one of the veterans, the stabilizers, I like to call him. He's been around for a number of years. Hit 20 home runs last year for the St. Louis Cardinals. And what was his final at-bat with St. Louis? Hit a home run, sort of like a swan song. But he had many good years with the Cardinals, many good years in the National League, primarily with the Colorado Rockies as well.
Line drive, left field. That is going to be caught by Goodell. No, he trapped it. It is a single for Holiday. Second base umpire Mark Wegner was out there, spread his hands out and said, no, that fell in. So it is a single for Holiday.
If Goodell had come up with that one, it would have been a heck of a play, but that ball had a lot of overspin on it. As Holiday really got into it. If he gets that up in the air, it's out of the ballpark. You can see the short hop. Good play by Goodell just to keep the ball in front of him and hold Holiday to a single.
Here's Greg Bird. So many storylines in this Yankee camp involving the young players, and this is a big one, Kenny. This guy is the first baseman, and if it doesn't work out, you might see Chris Carter get some time over there, but they want Greg Bird to get the majority of the time at first base. Had shoulder surgery last year and missed the entire season. And there is some worry about rust, Kenny. You know, how much does a year off affect your swing, and how long does it take to get it all back?
Well, the Yankees had him play in the Arizona Fall League, and they knocked some of that rust off. But if he's swinging the bat like he has in batting practice this early going in spring training, he was hitting some shots way out to right field.
See, he hit .215 in the Arizona Fall League, a home run and 10 runs batted in. Fouled away. Mark Teixeira has retired. He's become a broadcaster, so first base is open, and Bird has his chance.
You mentioned Chris Carter might get some reps over at first base. Unfortunately for the Yankees and young Mr. Tyler Austin, he fouled the ball off his foot one of the first days of spring training, broke his foot. He's in a walking boot, and he'll be out for 6 weeks. And he was in the mix for some time at first base.
The 2-2, swing and a miss. Bird down on strikes. But the Yankees get on the board in a loud way. Didi had 20 last year. This one doesn't count for the stats, but it counts on the board. A solo shot. Yankees 1, Phillies nothing.
London, when I need
MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, enjoy almost 300 spring training games and the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. So, Didi goes deep, and that was deep for the first run of the spring for the Yanks. They lead 1-0 as we go to the second. Mitchell still on the mound. Tommy Joseph at the plate. Pitch is high.
At the end of last year, the Phillies let Ryan Howard go. Former MVP, been with the team I believe 10 seasons, had an MVP season, hit the second most home runs in Philadelphia Philly history. This is the young man, Tommy Joseph, is going to take over. Now, Joseph did spend some time in the big leagues last year and hit 21 homers and just over 300 at bats. So he's got the power. In fact, Michael, I went to a game at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies were playing the Marlins that night, and Tommy Joseph hit one 9 miles up into the upper deck in left field. And that's the same type of thing that Ryan Howard did for years for the Phillies, albeit to right field for Ryan Howard. But this guy has some kind of power. Former catcher, now a first baseman.
The 3-1. Fly ball. Right center. Drifting over is Gardner. He'll make the play. One down. Nice crowd here for the opener at Steinbrenner Field. A reimagined, refurbished Steinbrenner Field. First year the Yankees played here was 1996, their championship season, making the move from Fort Lauderdale. And most of the last couple of months, the construction crews working furiously to be ready for opening day. In fact, they were here yesterday putting the finishing touches on this place. And Meredith Marakovich is going to have a lot more on all the changes they've made a little bit later on. Chris Coughlin swings and tips the ball into the glove of Sanchez. 0-1.
Oakland and Chicago last year. Coughlin, former Rookie of the Year in the National League with the Marlins.
One. Line drive down the right field line. It's a foul ball.
You know, one thing you're seeing from Brian Mitchell, and we've seen this more and more often over the years, Michael, the type of windup that he has, it's sort of like an extended stretch position, the way he pitches. And they go to this compact type delivery, and supposedly it helps your control. It's almost as if he's working from the stretch, but you can see if you're working from the stretch, you're not allowed to make the movements that you are right at the end to deliver the ball when you're in the stretch.
Brian Mitchell has not had fortune on his side in his big league career. Pretty much made the team last year. Then in a game on March 30th against the Braves, he's covering first base. Innocent cover of first base on a ground ball to the right side. Hits the bag the wrong way. Has to have toe surgery and essentially misses the entire season. And he did come back, as I mentioned, to make the 5 starts, but he was counted on to do big things for the Yankees when they put the team together last year. And that injury, I mean, just a freak injury.
He had had a good spring up to that point.
They like him. He throws hard. He has a nice makeup to him. And there's 2 rotation spots open. We know the top 3. It's going to be Tanaka, coming off an outstanding season. CeCe, who reimagined himself with lesser stuff and changing speeds last year and gave them a solid year. And then Michael Pineda in the final year of his contract. And CeCe Sabathia said Michael Pineda has such good stuff, he could win a Cy Young with that sort of stuff. But slots 4 and 5 in the rotation, very much open. Fly ball center field. Gardner there. So the battle for 4 and 5, it involves Luis Severino, who pitched well out of the bullpen for the Yankees, but did not pitch well in the rotation last year. Luis Sessa, Chad Green. We see Brian Mitchell on the mound, and Adam Warren, as Kenny mentioned, who is starting tomorrow, and that'll be against the Phillies in Clearwater. So 5 for 2.
Sounds like some sort of trade, doesn't it?
Now a little bit of a wild card, a Yankee draft pick who the organization really likes, James Caprillion. He would really have to light it up in spring training, I think, to move ahead of the other 5, but it's certainly a possibility.
He has lighted up stuff.
Yep.
Former #1 draft pick. Eric Cooper taking the first one off the mask this year. Looks like he's okay.
Yeah, man. Come on. The 0-2. Fly ball center field. And Brett Gardner ties a spring training record held by many, making all 3 putouts. We go to the bottom of the second. It's 1-0 Yanks. One nothing. Let's take a look at the team scouting report for the Phillies. The team the Yankees are taking on. It's presented by Geico.
Yeah, you mentioned last year the Phillies finished 20 games under 500, so they got some work to do. But one of the strengths of their team is their infield. Now, Cesar Hernandez is at second base. Freddie Galvis is at shortstop. Mikhail Franco is the third baseman, and Tommy Joseph at first. Now, Franco and Galvis are not here this afternoon, but that is the strength of their team. They need more power from the outfield. Philadelphia Phillies outfielders only hit 37 home runs last year. That's last in the big leagues, and they were outscored by 186 runs.
Here's Sterling Castro in his second season with the Yankees, and he takes a strike from Alec Asher.
So some of the Phillies' woes came on offense.
Strike 2 against Castro. Talked to Castro over the winter, and he admitted, and a lot of players don't do this, but he did admit a little bit sad that the Cubs won the World Series right after he had left. He wanted to be a part of that. He says he's happy for the players, but there was some jealousy involved, and I give him credit for admitting it. There's a ground ball at third on the broken bat, and Castro's out on the 5-3. And I guess Castro, Kenny, could check out that Cubs World Series ring on Aroldis Chapman, who helped the Cubs get that victory. And then the Yankees signed him to a 5-year free agent contract. So he's back closing games at the end of the bullpen.
You know, when you think about it, Michael, maybe those rings aren't quite ready. They usually have the ceremony on opening day. And when you're a player that gets traded or leaves as a free agent, the Yankees do play in Chicago this year. So that's when he'll probably get the ring.
Now, Adam Warren was on that team but traded back to the Yankees, so he will get a ring as well.
Yeah.
Didn't play in the World Series. The 0-1. 1-1. Now, Headley started off slowly last year and really buried himself where he had really a fine finish to the season, but the number's not where he particularly wanted them to be because he had such a bad first couple of months.
Didn't get his first extra base hit until May the 12th.
Swing and a miss, and Headley's down on strikes. Now, one thing that you should consider as you're watching this game is that the hitters have been in camp 4 days. Everything is kind of expedited this year because of the WBC, early reporting and then early games. So the pitchers have been here getting ready, but the hitters really have not had that many swings, even in the batting cages, so they might be a little bit rusty, although Didi scoffs when he hears that. Here's Aaron Hicks.
He's been down at Curacao getting ready for the WBC. He'll be playing for the Netherlands. You know, this is the time of spring where you usually see some sloppy baseball from time to time. Now here's a player who's just trying to bounce back altogether, and Aaron Hicks. I mean, he's got the tools, speed, great throwing arm, got power, but he's yet to put it all together.
He's going to battle the guy on deck, Aaron Judge, for the right field job. I think, from what you hear, the Yankees would like Judge to win that position. But if he struggles, as he did last year, and Hicks comes on, you'll see Hicks in right. Because they really, the Yankee organization, believe in Hicks. They think he's got all the requisite tools, and they just haven't come together just yet. A first-round draft pick of the Minnesota Twins. Two.
So far, Asher has shown that good slider. Struck out Headley on it.
And the 3-2.
You know, the Philly rotation somewhat set. Eichhoff, Nola, Hellickson, Velasquez, and Clay Buchholz, who they traded for over the winter. All right-handers. Asher might be a swing man, or you know, if one of those pitchers goes down, he might be the man who takes over in the rotation.
Line drive right at Hernandez. And that'll do it for the Yankees as they go down in order in the second. We'll go to the third. It's 1-0 Yanks. Training here at Steinbrenner Field, and it's a little bit different look for Steinbrenner Field, and Meredith Morocco is out in right center field, and she's going to show us exactly what has changed.
Well, Michael, you've already mentioned the renovations, and workers have been working around the clock to try to get this place done to be ready for this spring opener here, and they've really done a fantastic job. So Yankees have really increased and enhanced the fan experience. And one of the first things that you'll notice, it's now a 360 stadium, meaning you can walk all the way around the stadium. And some of the finer points out here in the back, you have some of the greats numbers, like Derek Jeter, number 2 right here, where you can pose, get a picture with that, with the field in the background. Also, if you look down the third base and first base line, there are some new structures. The third base club and the bullpen club. That top level is exclusive for club ticket holders and premium guests. Also, the bottom level, anybody can go in there. There are TVs, bars, food. And mentioning some of that food, they have definitely changed the menu a little bit. It's not just hamburgers and hot dogs anymore. They have ahi tuna poke nachos, shrimp nachos, sliders. They have a variety of new things that they've added to their menu, including gourmet hot dogs. So they've really done a nice job. And if none of that interests you, Michael and Kenny, and you want to take in the game from a different vantage point, you can go up here to the cabanas, some nice comfortable seating for groups of 10 or more, where you have a little different outlook looking out on the field, more of an experience, allows you to really interact with other fans. So they also have updated their store in the front of George M. Steinbrenner Field. A lot of things going on. It seems as though the fans so far have really been enjoying the additions.
Meredith, those sliders sound really good.
You know, I was thinking the same thing, Michael.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see our fill of sliders all season long from the pitchers, but maybe not the tasty ones that Meredith's talking about.
Well, a good friend might bring us some, but again, a good friend. Thank you, Meredith. As Knapp goes down on strikes against the new Yankee pitcher, Tyler Clippard. Split time with the Diamondbacks and the Yankees. 69 games, 4-6, 3.57. Did a nice job, and he's going to be a big part of this bullpen. You've got Clippard, you've got Betances, and you've got Chapman, and that's probably in one way or the other going to cover the last 3 innings of the game. And the bullpen looks like it could be a real strong point this year.
Clippard has one of the best changeups in the game. Kind of jumps at the hitter to give him the effect that the ball is really kind of a fastball, but it's almost like a Bugs Bunny changeup.
Count 1-0 to J.P. Crawford.
Crawford is a former #1 draft pick of these Phillies, and I was talking to former Yankee third base coach under Joe Torre, Larry Boa. It was a great shortstop in his Philly days, his playing days. And we were talking about Crawford, and he was saying he made great strides from 2 years ago. Here's a look at Larry Boa on your left. To his left is manager Pete Mechanic. He says maybe it's starting to kick in for Crawford. He said 2 years ago, he said, I didn't see it, but this year or during the season last year, got to see him. He improved quite a bit down in his minor league days.
Grounded up the middle, just over the bag, and Didi makes the play for the second out. One thing about baseball, Kenny, I mean, you've lived it. It's not a microwave sport. I mean, you're just not great right away. Look how many years Gary Sanchez spent in the minor leagues. Yeah. I mean, if you gave up, he wouldn't have had the 20 home runs in 53 games. Sometimes it takes longer for some kids to develop.
They're very few. Well, you can count on one hand players like Dave Winfield, Bob Horner, who came immediately from college into the big leagues. That just doesn't happen. You have to spend some days in the minors. Prove yourself.
This is Hector Gomez.
You know, with Franco, we mentioned him not coming over to Tampa today. He'll probably be in the lineup tomorrow. It's the Phillies' home opener in spring training, if you will, against major league competition. But Franco may be a star in the making for these Phillies. Led the team in home runs and runs batted in last year.
Well, they've already committed long term to him contract-wise, so that's certainly one of the building blocks. Veteran righty deals the 1-1, 2-1. 1-0 Yankees, a first inning home run, a long one by Didi Gregorius to right center field.
Clippard, another one of the players who will be going off to the World Baseball Classic. He'll be pitching for the United States. Here's that changeup. He really sells it. Part of the changeup is his delivery. The fact that he just jumps it and he just grips it to the point where see all the fingers on the ball that takes the power out of the pitch. I mean, not only does it take speed off, it dives when it gets to home plate.
Well, the Yankees traded Chapman and Andrew Miller last year. They acquired Clippard so that their bullpen would be somewhat competitive down the stretch, and he certainly pitched very, very well for them after coming over from Arizona. Three-two. High fly ball, center field. Gardner makes a play, and the Phillies go down in order. If you're here at Steinbrenner Field, one of the new additions is a multi-story gift shop. A lot of Yankee stuff to buy.
When I think about Aaron Judge, all he really has to do is get the barrel of the bat to the ball. If he does that, there's going to be production just because he's so big and strong. I mean, his fly balls aren't always going to come down inside the ballpark. They're going to just keep going.
And Aaron Judge will lead off, and that's what the Yankee manager has to say about him. And hey, the stats support what Joe said. 84 at-bats last year. And he struck out 42 times. You can't have that. And he's got to cut down on the strikeouts. He knows that. And he studied so much tape over the winter, Kenny, of Miguel Cabrera and Barry Bonds, two bigger-bodied guys that hit home runs and made contact. And that's what he's trying to do, trying to get quicker to the ball. New pitcher is Nick Pivetta, and he deals a ball to Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I talked to Yankee hitting coach Alan Cockrell before the game about Judge as we look at the numbers from Pivetta. Last year in the minor league, starting pitcher, good record, 12-8, 3.27. And he was saying that Judge, he mentioned that he'd worked hard over the winter, and he's just got to stay back, short to the ball, and with his power, the ball's going to go. He puts on a show in batting practice.
Now, Bob Klapisch of the Bergen Record had a story where he interviewed Aaron Judge, and he asked him straight out, are you too big to succeed in baseball? He said, no, I think that my size gives me leverage, and in the outfield, I'm in the gap in 3 strides. Nobody else can do that. But he has prodigious power. Kenny, he put on a batting practice show yesterday, and as we mentioned, the place was still under construction yesterday, and construction workers were ducking out there at these incoming missiles off the bat of Aaron Judge. He's a big man, and he's got great power.
They were wearing hard hats, too.
Yeah, they needed him. 2-2. Foul back.
When you think of players his size who've succeeded in the major leagues, you know, everybody mentioned Dave Winfield when he was a big man, when he was very athletic though. Frank Howard may be a little less athletic, but certainly had a lot of success at the big league level. Frank Howard played for the Washington Senators back in the day and the Dodgers. He had two nicknames in Washington: the Washington Monument and Capital Punishment.
Now the book on Judge, Kenny, is that he initially fails at each new level and then conquers it. The Yankees are hoping that that's what takes place in the big leagues, but he strikes out in his first spring training at bat, one away here in the third.
Looked like he left the strike zone on some sort of off-speed pitch as Pivetta picks up a strikeout.
Here's Brett Gardner, his second at bat. He grounded out to second, leading off the bottom of the first. Pivetta deals. 1-0. You might want to stay tuned the entire game because some of the highly touted Yankee youngsters will be replacing the starters in the fourth or fifth inning. And you'll get a chance to see Gleyber Torres and Clint Frazier, Fowler, Andujar.
Yeah, Andujar. I've been impressed by him.
Also remember, in the fifth inning, Yankee manager Joe Girardi will join us.
Well, Gardner playing center field today. As you can see, Didi Gregorius on deck. Kobe Ellsbury missed the first few days of spring training, and he and his wife had their second daughter, and so he was a little late, so he's not quite ready for game action. Should be a few days before Ellsbury's back in the lineup.
Swing and a miss. Gardner down on strikes. You also had a look there when you saw Gregorius sitting with the Yankee Brain Trust, the coaches and the manager, is Alex Rodriguez. Talking things over with Gary Sanchez.
A-Rod's been here, what, 4 days now?
I think he's going to go home after this. And he's working out a schedule at the Yankee owner Hal Steinbrenner about how often he'll come by and deal with the kids, and actually had a big dinner last night with a lot of the Yankee youngsters. Count 1-1 on Gregorius. Long home run on the first pitch that he saw this spring.
Of course, when Alex first showed up, one of the first questions was he thinking about playing again? Right away. No.
Line on a broken bat to shortstop. Crawford makes the play, and Pivetta puts together a 1-2-3 inning. There's A-Rod. He'll be watching the top of the fourth with you as the Yankees lead 1-0.
Growing up, I was among the 1 in 5 American
4th, and we go back to Meredith Morakovich, who has all the details on Alex Rodriguez's dinner last night with the kids.
Well, Michael Glaber, Torres, Tyler Wade, Rob Refsnyder, among the guys that were at that dinner with Alex Rodriguez, about 9 in total. It took place here in Tampa at Ruth's Chris. And Rob Refsnyder said the biggest takeaway from it was the fact that Alex Rodriguez's baseball mind is simply incredible. He said he brought up a game that Refsnyder played in 2015, and he remembered it vividly, went through the details of the entire game with Refsnyder, and he couldn't believe how accurate it was in relation to what Refsnyder did in that game in particular. Now, Glaber Torres told me that he thought it was unbelievable that he had the opportunity to sit down and really pick the brain of Alex Rodriguez. He said Rodriguez was completely open, really asked them to ask any questions that they had regarding any aspects of his baseball career and really challenged them to focus on the sport, not get too carried away with outside distractions, and said, if you guys ever need to talk to me, I'll be available for you. So a lot of the guys really liking the fact that Alex Rodriguez took the time, enjoyed the dinner. And Michael, I know you're going to ask, Alex did pick up the tab.
Well, he should. He should. He was really looking forward to that dinner. He's always been good with the young players anyway, and now that's kind of his unofficial role. And it's funny, Kenny, a lot of people have asked me, well, I mean, Alex has made so many mistakes. Why should he be talking to the young players? And I asked Alex that, and he said, because I can tell him what not to do. I've lived it. And there used to be a series many, many years ago, Scared Straight, where convicts actually talk to kids because they lived a life in jail. If your parents tell you don't do it, it doesn't have the same resonance as if somebody who's done something wrong tells you. Alex has done those bad things.
Well, Meredith did say, he said, you can ask me any question.
Fly ball right field. Judge makes the play. New pitcher for the Yankees is the lefty Tommy Lane, and the 2016 season had a lot of exciting moments with Gary Sanchez. One of my favorite moments, Kenny, was this one against Toronto. Tommy Lane on the mound.
Oh, this is a great play. Tommy Lane, the only one who could make the play as Sanchez took himself out of the play. That's Darwin Barney, who's out at home plate. And if I remember, that was extra innings, wasn't it?
I just like how he eluded the first tackler, which is always important.
You make that first guy miss?
Yeah, then you got some extra yards.
It's the talent.
Very athletic play, and you know everything's moving so quickly and the game is on the line. It was a nice addition for the Yankees.
Came over from the Red Sox, you know, lefty out of the bullpen. You can match him up. Also, he was the type of pitcher you could leave in to face right-handed hitting as well. And he's going to face 3 switch hitters in this inning.
Chop back to Lane. Throw to first, and they get the speedy Quinn for the second out. So what is Lane's role on this Yankee team? He talked about it earlier this spring.
I'm a reliever. I can get right-handed hitters out too. I've proven I can do that. But in my heart, I love being a lefty specialist. I mean, I love it because you're always coming in when the world's on fire. You know, there's guys on base, it matters, and you're getting that big out. You may not get the out to end the inning to take the threat away, but you're at least alleviating some of that pressure.
And that's probably going to be his role, lefty specialist, but it does make things easier if there's a lefty coming up, then a righty, then another lefty. Joe doesn't have to be worried about that middle of the sandwich where the pitcher can't get the right-handed batter. Lane can certainly do that.
Did he say he came in with the world on fire?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that's apropos for him because he had a degree in criminal justice and emphasis in fire science at Mount Olive College in North Carolina.
Wow.
So that'll heat things up, huh?
Early, but I did see what you did there.
Yeah.
Nava, fly ball right field. Judge is there. And Tommy Lane works a 1-2-3 inning here in the 4th. We'll go to the bottom of the 4th inning. It's 1-0 Yankees. Bombers host the Blue Jays right here at Steinbrenner Field. Our coverage begins at 1 with the latest news and notes from camp. Then watch the position battles play out live right in front of you, right here on Yes.
Oh, that'll be Luis Severino on the mound. See what he's going to bring to the table this year.
Here is Gary Sanchez against Nick Pivetta in his second inning.
Now, Michael, earlier this week I was out here watching the Yankees work out, and Gary Sanchez was in the cage. He hit a ball. I didn't think anything of it. It looked like he missed it. It went over the wall in right center field. It went over by quite a stretch. And it's almost like he surprised himself. Certainly surprised me.
He's a strong guy.
Oh, yes, he is.
Now, Gary Sanchez did something last year that, starting on opening day, Kenny, we will never get a chance to see something like that again. He's being intentionally walked, and the intentional ball came too close to the plate, and he hammered it, almost hit it out, hit it to the warning track in left center field. But this year, new rule, just take your base. They do not have to throw 4 balls.
Look out.
That goes flying over the Philly dugout into the seats. Hope everybody's okay.
Yeah, and no more chance of a pitcher with an overthrow. We saw Betances do that last year.
Yep.
On the intentional base on balls. And it's all trying to speed up the game.
Now, the commissioner and his people have gone to the Players Association. They have other things they'd like to implement to speed up the pace. Not so much shorten the length of the game, but just have more action and have the game move quickly. And the Players Association has to agree to it, and they've shot down a lot of them. The commissioner, Rob Manfred, somewhat disappointed, but next year, a year into the basic agreement, he can just unilaterally impose those rules, which is probably what's going to happen.
I think, this is my own personal feeling about speeding up games. And one way I feel you can do it, and I think this is coming, this day is coming. Baseball is a very traditional game and, slow to change. But good pitch over the outside corner for call strike 3. But in between innings, I mean, we have commercials. We sell time on TV. What instead if you shorten the amount of time in between innings, but you go to those advertisers and say, how about a logo on the uniform? So it's almost like a complete all game long. It's an advertisement. But I know how traditional baseball is, and they might not want to. I don't want it to turn into NASCAR. Don't you understand what I mean?
Well, I think that there's a fly ball to deep right, and that ball's going to be off the base of the wall as Holiday picks up his second single. This one a deep one to right field, showing power the other way. Well, Kenny, I think the day is coming that they will put a patch on the uniform, but the NBA's doing it next year. I'm sure it's going to come to baseball at some point, but I think they want to add on to their revenue, not take away. If they cut down commercials, and that's one of the culprits in terms of the game lasting 3.5 hours rather than 2:45.
No, what I'm saying is you go to that particular advertiser and say, instead of putting it in between innings, why don't you have that game-long advertising on a uniform?
Here's Greg Bird. No, I hear what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that when they finally put that patch on the uniform, they want to add revenue, not to just even things out by shortening the commercials. But I think one of the first things they'll do is they'll put a pitch clock in.
Yeah,
you've got to pitch within 20 seconds, which I think is fair.
Except with men on base.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, I'll tell you what, the new commissioner, Rob Manfred, and Chief Operating Officer Tony Petitti, they're forward thinkers, and they know that the game has to grow, and they're willing to push the envelope a little bit to see if they can make it happen. 1-1. Bird fouls it away.
Yeah, we've gone from being cooking on the stove to a microwave society. You want things a lot quicker.
2-2.
What we've seen from Holiday, 2 solid shots, one to left field, one to right field. I think he'll do a lot of damage at Yankee Stadium to right and right center. He's got power all over the ballpark.
Good job.
Holiday leads off first with 1 out. Yankees up 1-0. First spring training game of the year. And Bird works a walk to put runners on first and second with 1 out, bringing up Starlin Castro. Castro with a ground ball to third, a broken back ground ball in the second inning. There's a strike.
What are your thoughts on raising the strike zone? We've heard that too.
I believe if you called the strike zone the way it's laid out in the rule book, you'd have to swing at more pitches and put balls into play.
That's
especially the ones upstairs.
Upstairs, yeah.
Now, one of the suggestions that the Players Association, which has that right, rejected was they wanted to limit the amount of trips to the mound by the catcher. And we saw last year sometimes 5, 6, 7 trips in an inning where they're trying to change signs and go over how they want. And Joe Girardi had a great idea. Mentioned the other day, said they should put earpieces in the pitcher's ear and a device where the catcher could talk to the pitcher without walking out there. He also said giving signs. I've got to give a sign. Then Joe Espada has to relay the sign to the batter. He said if you had everybody wearing an earpiece, I could just say bunt, hit and run.
You got to make sure the other team doesn't get your frequency.
Yeah. Get a lot of what's your frequency, Kenneth? Holiday's at second, Bird's at first. It's 1-0 Yankees on the first inning home run by Gregorius. We're in the bottom of the fourth inning. Castro's at the plate. And Pivetta deals. Right back to Pivetta. He's going to go to second to get one. No play at first. So they get the force on Bird. And the Yankees have runners on the corners, 2 outs, and Chase Headley coming up.
Well, we talked about it during the regular season. Might as well talk about it now. These are the situations with 2 outs. These runners in scoring position. With Holiday over at third base, a chance to pick up a run in just when the Phillies would think they're out of the inning. They got the shift on with Headley at the plate.
Headley struck out in the second. And there's a strike. One nothing Yankees. Pivetta deals outside. 1-1. Headley's in the 3rd year of a 4-year contract he signed with the Yankees. And if you're watching this game, you've heard the story of the great young prospects the Yankees have, middle infielders, but they're playing those kids all over. Really making them versatile. Not to be utility players, but you saw what the Cubs did by moving people around. So you might see a Torres or a Mateo play third and second. Some might experiment in the outfield as well. And that gives a manager maneuverability with these players where they're not locked in to one position and blocked by one player.
You saw it in particular with Addison Russell of the Cubs. He came up as a second baseman. Then they flipped him and Castro and made Russell the shortstop. And Russell ended up being the shortstop on the World Championship team.
The 2-2. Fly ball, left field. Goodell drifts back, makes the play, and that will do it. No runs, a hit, no errors, and 2 men left on base. The manager of the Yankees joins us in the top of the 5th. Back here at Steinbrenner Field on the Audi scoreboard, Yankees 1 and the Phillies nothing. Top of the 5th inning, and one of my favorite things about doing the spring training games is we get a chance to talk to the manager of the Yankees in the middle of the game, and Joe Girardi settles in. Joe, how you doing?
I'm good, Michael. Kenny, how are you guys?
Pretty good, thank you. Beautiful day.
Yeah, it is. Stadium looks great. The renovations look great. Matt Holliday looks great.
A lot of great things. Let's start with your shortstop with a monster bomb to put you guys on the board. Didi showed power last year. What's the potential for him? What do you think he could top out at?
You know, I don't know. I mean, you hate to, think that he's going to be a 30 home run guy, but I mean, how many he hit last year? 20?
20.
I mean, I think he's very capable of doing that. And I think he displayed his power there, and he's gotten smarter and wiser over the years.
That's a pretty good number from middle infield.
Yes, it is, and we got it from both of them.
Matt Holliday, one of your free agent signings, probably be your DH. He's 2 for 2, hit one off the right center field wall. And one of the things that people say about Holliday, Joe, great clubhouse presence. Have you seen that yet?
Yes, I have. You can tell that guys are going to look up to him, and they're going to look to him for direction. And he's not, afraid to put his arm around a young guy and have a long conversation with him. So he'll be great in our clubhouse.
Sessa deals the 1-1. He throws a strike, 1-2. Let's talk a little pitching, Joe. Brian Mitchell, who's certainly in the battle for one of those 2 spots open in the rotation. What did you think of him today?
I thought he looked pretty good. For his first outing, he threw strikes, no walks. Threw his curveball over for some strikes. So I thought his first outing was positive. Looked like he threw some cutters as well. So, I mean, he was in such a good place last March, at the end of March, when he got hurt. And, we didn't think he'd pitch the whole year for us, and was able to come back in September and did a pretty good job.
Ground ball at third. Henley makes the play, 1 away.
And then, he finally kind of got it going at the end of the year, and we saw his potential and what he was capable of doing. So I like his arm, and I like his stuff, and, we need to keep him healthy.
Joe Sess is also in that mix for a spot in the rotation. What do you look for in the early going from these pitchers who got this competition going?
I think that the important thing is commanding your fastball early. I think your breaking balls are going to be a little bit behind just because you haven't thrown as many, and you haven't thrown any in a game competition. So, for Sess, it's important that his fastball, when he's going on the first base side, doesn't run back across the middle, because that's when he got hurt and gave up the home run. So I think, commanding the outside to right-handers and inside to lefties is important for him.
Joe, if we don't count Caprillion, and that might not be fair, but if we don't, there's 5 people going for 2 spots. How do you win those spots? Is it totally on production or what you see on the pitches?
I think it's more on what you see on the pitches, because there could be some days where high sky, wind blowing out, infields are fast down here that you're not necessarily going to see once the season starts. So it's more on their stuff pretty close. Little down.
Just a hair.
Yeah.
It was a good 0-2 pitch, though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's tempting. It's tempting for a hitter to chase, and if he hits that, he's going to hit it on the ground, and you'll take that, you know, all day.
1-2 count on Coughlin. That one's lined in the center field. Coming on is Gardner. He makes the play. 2 outs. So I'm wondering if you're worried about pressure on Sanchez, because everybody's going to look and say 20 home runs, 53 games. Let's triple that to 60 home runs. I mean, do you have to talk to him and say, don't let these expectations blow up?
Yeah, I think you watch him and how he handles spring training. And yeah, I do worry about that, because I think sometimes, you know, when you are a superstar or perceived to be a superstar at a young age, you can't live up to those expectations. And I think, you know, a lot about Alex. I mean, people expected 50 and 150, it seemed like, all the time. And it's hard to do that every year. So, you know, as long as he stays within himself, he gives you good at-bats, and he does his job behind the plate, which he does really well, things will all work out. I think it's when he tries to do more, and maybe he puts too much pressure on himself and tries to carry the team. That's when he'll get in trouble.
Sessa deals the 0-2.
Oof.
Is it different in camp this year, Joe? I mean, there's so many young players, and the future is so bright, and so is the present. But I mean, you've managed this team when it was like, you know, the Beatles touring. How different is this?
It's much different, and I think we have 34 new people in camp, and that's a lot for the first time to be here. I think we have 14 of 15 pitchers that never pitched in a big league spring training or a big league game. So you're going to see a lot of youth that we're running out there, and it is different. There's more teaching. There'll be more teaching this spring. We got to watch how the kids handle stuff and not give them too much too fast, especially for kids that might go back to the minor leagues, that they don't get overwhelmed.
Joe always puts a real good pitcher in the fifth, so he doesn't have to talk that long. Thanks, Joe.
I used to always bring in Mo.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks,
Talk to you
guys.
soon. Bye.
Bye.
We are halfway through as Sessa works a 1-2-3, and it's 1-0 Yankees. April 15th, when the Yankees take on the Cardinals in an interleague matchup. It's calendar day, and all guests in attendance are going to receive a 2017 Yankees calendar courtesy of MasterCard. For tickets, log on to Yankees.com. Visit the Yankee Stadium ticket window, Yankees clubhouse shops, or you can call Ticketmaster at 877-469-9849. Big crowd here at Steinbrenner Field on the spring training opener for the Yanks. Aaron Hicks leads off and takes the ball.
Phillies have some new players in the game. There's a pitcher, Erneri Garcia. They also have a new first baseman, new second baseman. Erneri Garcia. Good numbers, 12 and 4, 2.68.
Hicks with a fly ball, center field. Catch is made by Quinn, one away. Audi scoreboard, it's 1-0 Yankees. Phillies still looking for their first hit. That one's drilled deep to left center field. There it goes. See ya! Off the scoreboard. There's the power we talked about as Aaron Judge just clubs it. 2-0 Yankees.
Wow.
Kenny, nobody moved. The players didn't move. They just turned their head.
I think their ears were ringing. The sound of that ball hitting the bat, the crack of the bat. You could have heard that out on Dale Mabry. Wow. High fastball. My ears are still ringing.
Kenny, that's what's so seductive about his skill set. You know, if you can cut down on the strikeouts, the homers will come.
I think he kind of knew it was gone.
We live in a baseball world now that if you give me 40 home runs, I'll take 210 strikeouts. That's just the way it is.
Those guys make big money.
But you don't want a guy striking out 280 times.
No, no, no. Watch how high up this ball hits off the scoreboard. Almost went over it. Well over 400 feet.
Gardner works a walk as Garcia was scared out of the strike zone. So 2 long home runs have given the Yankees a 2-0 lead, won by Gregorius, but that looks like a blooper now compared to what Judge just did.
Oh my goodness.
And here is Didi.
Didi did a great job against left-handed pitching last year. Hit .320 against lefties. It seemed that every time a left-hander hung a breaking ball in the inner third of the plate to Didi Gregorius, he hit it hard somewhere.
That one is in the dirt as Gardner moves to second. Hey, you know, we mentioned the intentional walk plan that's been out there, that you don't have to throw the 4 intentional balls. We've been notified that nothing has been officially approved by anybody. So it's certainly been written that way that it will start on opening day, but Major League Baseball has said there is nothing that has been officially approved. So we do want to note that. That one is popped up. Play is made by Gomez. 2 away. So here's Gary Sanchez.
I'm still thinking about that home run.
Gardner's at second. 2 men out, bottom of the 5th. Swing and a miss. Sanchez 0 for 2. Grounded to second and struck out looking. And this will hit right in the heart of the Yankee order. Once the season begins, he's batting third.
There's been a lot of thought about moving Sanchez to second in the order, because they say that you'll get that many more at bats in the course of a long season. But usually where he's hitting now, that's where your best hitter goes. Third. I think when you think back to the days of, speaking of A-Rod, he used to hit second in the Mariners lineup early in his career. Of course, he had Ken Griffey Jr. on deck.
Fly ball right field. Coglin's there, makes a play, and that will do it. But this inning is about that man, Aaron Judge, squared one up and said, all right, take a long ride to left field. The only thing stopping me is that scoreboard. 2-0 Yankees. Sunday afternoon, don't miss an all-new episode of Yankees Access for an inside look at 4 of the Bombers' top prospects and get the background stories of their journey to the pros. Catch Yankees Access Prospects premiering Sunday at 4 at the Yankee Spring Training Game, and that's only on Yes. Now, that show's going to feature Gleyber Torres, Clint Frazier, Blake Rutherford, and James Caprillion. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Great access we have, and it's going to be up close and personal. It's going to be an awesome, awesome show. And there is Clint Frazier, who takes over in left field, and we bring in our good friend Jack Curry. And I know you've talked to Frazier a couple of times. What's your read on him? There's the new Yankee defense right now.
Michael, I had the chance to go down to Georgia and visit with Frazier and his family and watch him work out for a day. And some of the words that pop to mind when you watch Frazier are intensity, perfectionist. This is a guy who doesn't want to just get to the major leagues. He wants to get to the major leagues and excel. He wants to be an all-star, but he also understands that he got some work ahead of him. He hit .229 at AAA last year after the Yankees acquired him from the Indians, and he said he was putting a little bit too much pressure on himself, and he'd like to go and conquer AAA and get to the major leagues as quickly as he can. Brian Cashman, when the Yankees made that trade, which of course sent Miller to the Indians, said Frazier already has legendary bat speed.
They do talk about that, and you could see it just, on the untrained eye watching in the batting cage. He gets the ball through the strike zone, the bat through the strike zone very quickly.
One thing you'll find out about him, Michael, he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's not the biggest guy. He's not 6'4", 225. He's more of a 5'10", 215 guy. Very muscular guy, but he said because he wasn't the big star and the matinee idol type looking player growing up, that he always played with a chip on his shoulder, and he thinks that has helped him. And there are some things he has to work on in his game, and he freely admits that. But a colorful character and a guy, like I said, who doesn't want to just be good. He wants to be great.
His workouts are kind of legendary, aren't they?
Kenny, we watched him work out, and we were tired just watching him work out.
Swing and a miss as Knapp goes down on strikes. And we told you about that show, the Access show, and Gleyber Torres is such a big part of it and had such an unbelievable stretch in the Arizona Fall League. He was the MVP. Now we go downstairs to Meredith Marakovits, who has more.
Well, Michael, if I had to describe my first interaction with Gleyber Torres, I would say that he was impressive. At 20 years old, he is mature beyond his years. And talking with scouts as well as members of the Yankees front office, they all say that he has this innate ability to really slow the game down on both sides of the ball, and really nothing seems to bother him. Obviously, there are huge expectations for him, especially considering the fact he won the AFL MVP, the youngest to ever do so. But for him, he's just focusing on the moment, not looking too far ahead. Now, when I visited him in Miami, we went to a local field by Doral, and he was there earlier before the gate even was unlocked. He is excited about this. He is willing to put in the hard work. He also has watched Miguel Cabrera as well as others during this offseason, kind of in awe with the way he's able to use all fields. His idol growing up was Omar Vizquel, somebody he had the opportunity to meet. He immediately told him, "You were my favorite player growing up." Vizquel told him, "You're going to be a pretty good player yourself." He described Vizquel as a guy that just played the position beautifully, something he would like to do.
Well, thank you, Meredith. And Gleyber is playing shortstop right now as the Yankees with wholesale changes, and a lot of the highly touted kids are in. And he'll get a chance defensively. Ground ball to Torres. He fires across the diamond, and that will do it. Phillies still looking for their first hit. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning. It's 2-0 Yankees. Solo home runs by Gregorius and Judge, and the Yankees lead 2-0 here in the bottom of the 6th inning. So Wilkin Castillo is going to pinch hit for Matt Holliday, and the first pitch is up and away. Still here with Ken Singleton and Jack Curry. And Jack, we saw Aaron Judge launch one and really put it on the board, as Ken Harrelson likes to say. He's made some adjustments to his swing, so he's hoping that he sees more of that, and the Yankees see more of that this year.
He has, Michael, and it involves the lower half of his body. He's been working with batting coach Alan Cockrell about trying to load his back hip, and the way that he explained that to me is he needs that back hip to be more athletic, and if he gets into his position quick enough, that allows his front side or his front leg to then go forward and be fluid and make more adjustments. But if he's not fluid with the backside, that front leg becomes stiff, and he said then he's susceptible to whatever the pitcher is trying to do to him. So he mentioned guys like Barry Bonds, Robinson Cano.
Castillo drives one down the line. It's a foul ball.
Oh, we almost had another home run there. He mentioned guys like Cano and Bonds that he has watched over the years, and even Miguel Cabrera, who Meredith mentioned earlier. if you watch their back hip, watch how they get loaded, and he said it makes everything else more comfortable. And so that's what he is trying to work on. He's a big guy, a lot of moving parts, obviously, but he feels if he loads himself with that back hip, he presents much more of an obstacle to what pitchers are trying to do to him.
Interestingly enough, before the game, I was talking to Larry Boa and Pete McCann. The first player they talked about on the Yankee side was Aaron Judge. Boa said, look at the size of that guy. And I said, well, he's got some awesome power. So Boa at least now knows I know what I'm talking about.
Well, Kenny, when we look at the Yankees, and there are obviously questions in spring training that they're trying to get answered. You look at first base with Greg Bird, you look at right field with Aaron Judge, and if those two players, if Bird can be what he was in 2015, and if Judge can rebound from a season last year where he had 42 strikeouts and 84 at-bats and be very productive, the Yankees offense looks pretty solid.
Yeah. Ji-Man Choi grounds out the short for the second out. 2 down. There's Joe Girardi and Mr. October, Reggie Jackson. And here is Ruben Tejada. Former Met, trying to stick here with the Yankees as a utility guy. Foul back.
Michael, I heard you ask Joe Girardi earlier about Holiday's influence, and having been down here for over a week now in spring training and watching these guys every day around the cage, I've seen Judge attaching himself to Holiday on some days, and I've watched Holiday giving him advice about his swing path and things like that. So I think Matt Holliday on and off the field is going to have a major influence on the Yankees.
Well, the Yankees pounced on that signing early. They believe that he could help the team. 2-2 on Tejada.
Speaking of major influence, Tejada's injury when he was slid into by Chase Utley of the Dodgers in the playoffs. I mean, that changed the rule because Tejada suffered a broken leg, and now you don't see many guys taken out at second base, and I think they've maybe taken a lot of the injury factor away from the double play as they did when Buster Posey was injured as a catcher. Very rarely you see a catcher run over nowadays. So trying to keep players on the field.
3-2. Popped up right side. That's going to make the seats. Here's the play that Kenny's talking about in the playoffs between the Mets and the Dodgers.
Man. It hurts just looking at it.
And Tejada works a 2-out walk.
The other day I was talking with Ron Guidry in the Yankee clubhouse, and of course one of the greatest Yankee pitchers ever, but he was talking about the infielders. Willie Randolph would know the players on the other team who would get down to second base and really get into them, and name Hal McRae came up. We saw that in the playoffs back in the 80s, and also Don Baylor's name came up. So Willie Randolph would know who these guys were.
Here's Miguel Andujar. In talking to A-Rod the other day, he went out of his way to single out Andujar as a guy who has unbelievable skills. He said this guy could be a star in the big leagues, and he's quietly kind of flying under the radar. Fly ball, right field. Into the corner and making, he could not make the play. The ball is dropped. It is a fair ball. Tejada's throwing to try to score. He will. Andujar goes to third. The throw gets away, but Andujar will stay right there as the Yankees have a 3-0 lead.
Should be interesting to see how they score this, and they're going to say the ball got into the dugout, and he's going to come in to score.
It's Chris Coughlin out there. Looked like he had the ball lined up, and he got to the line. The ball got to the glove. right into the corner, and he could not hold on.
Looked like it got in the heel of his glove and then came out. And that enables the Yankees to score not 1 but 2 runs. As the ball was thrown away. There's going to be an error there somewhere.
Michael, to your point on Andujar, added to the 40-man roster in November after having a solid season at Trenton, where he hit .266, a couple of home runs, but also impressed the Yankees in the Arizona Fall League, where he was named to their All-Star game, their Fall Star game.
There's Clint Frazier. So much has been said about him. Jack spoke about him a little bit earlier, and that quick bat lines one into the seats in right, foul.
I think Yankee fans should know that the Yankees also got Justice Sheffield in that deal. So he's a pretty good looking prospect on the mound. And I'm sure we'll see him during the course of spring training.
Yankees sent Andrew Miller to the Indians, and they got back 4 players: Fierson, Heller, Sheffield, and Frazier, who's at the plate. There's a strike. I guess, Kenny, that's going to be scored a triple and an error. And there's no RBI. There has, well, if it's a triple, it has to be an RBI.
It has to be an RBI.
Strike 3. Frazier down on strikes. But the Yankees scored 2 runs on 1 hit, 1 error, and nobody left on base. We go to the 7th. It's 4-0 Yanks. Right on yes, the Nets are back in action after the All-Star break to start an extended 8-game road trip against the Denver Nuggets. Now coverage starts at 8:30. Watch the Nets on yes and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Well, we go to the 7th inning, and Jordan Montgomery takes over on the mound. The first 4 Yankee pitchers have not allowed a hit to the Phillies as the Yankees lead this one 4-0. In fact, the Phillies have not had a base runner in the first 6 innings. So far it's been a fruitless trip from Clearwater. This is what Montgomery did in the minors last year: 14-5, 2.13, almost a strikeout per inning. Scott Kingery against Montgomery. Montgomery deals.
There's another young player the Phillies are high on.
Ground ball short. Gleyber Torres fires wide, and Choi Comes up with the ball, but comes out the bag. So Kingery reaches, and that's the first Phillies base runner.
Well, everything worked until he delivered the baseball. A nice backhand pickup going towards the hole. That was smooth. And when you're a shortstop, you have to throw from all angles. But this one is off the bag, and Choi made a good play just hauling this one in and keeping it from going maybe into the Yankee dugout and having Kingery go down to second. So that'll be an E6.
And here's Cameron Perkins pinch hitting for Quinn. Grounded up the middle and through for a base hit past Tejada into center field. And that's the first base hit for the Phillies. They have runners on first and second and nobody out. Now, Jack, introduced to the crowd before the game was Hal Steinbrenner. And I know you spoke to Hal earlier in the spring about some of his expectations on this team. A lot of people keep saying, you know, it's a young team, but although they have high expectations for the future, they also have high expectations for right now.
They do. It was interesting to talk to Hal outside the Yankee clubhouse. There were a handful of us there at the time, and he talked a lot about the youth and how excited he is about this team going forward. But you're right, Michael. He said this team is a competitive team. He used the phrase, we always pursue putting a championship caliber team on the field, but he kept going back to the excitement that he feels about the Sanchez's, the Birds, the Judges. We're seeing a guy like Sessa today. You throw Severino in there and the other guys who are in the mix for the back end of that rotation. And you see what the Yankee blueprint is going forward, but you also see what their blueprint is right now about trying to do what they can to win as many games as possible, get to the postseason.
Lined in the center field, it's a base hit coming up with his Fowler, and he fires in, but it's cut off by Choi. Scoring is Kingery, and the Phillies are on the board. Yankees lead 4-1.
So the switch hitting Nava. That's the Phillies on the board on our Ford scoreboard. It's now 4-1 Yankees.
Michael, a couple of balls hit hard against Montgomery this inning, and we flashed his stats earlier, but we should emphasize just how strong this guy finished at AAA Scranton last year. He had a 0.97 ERA over his last 6 starts at Scranton. That was over a 37-inning period. So we talk about how the Yankees have some young arms vying for spots in the rotation. Montgomery is a guy to keep an eye on. I mean, he is a guy who was sort of on the outside of vying for a spot right now, but throughout the season could definitely be somebody who gets a look.
When you think about that team last year, he was on at AAA Scranton. Team won the championship. Had a tremendous season.
I mean, he's 6'6", 225. I mean, Kenny, you're the former All-Star hitter. It looks to me like he kind of throws over the top a little bit. Maybe does a decent job of hiding the ball.
That was a half a life ago, Jack.
Well, it's better than Michael and I. We're wiffle ball players. I'm going to you for the hitter's analysis.
And well, you know, he's got the size of somebody like, speaking of the Phillies, Steve Carlton, who certainly was no day at the beach. You know, that's everything. Well, he's a Hall of Famer, 300-game winner.
Montgomery deals. Fouled away by Brock Stassi. 1-2. So we got Hal Steinbrenner's take. What was Brian Cashman's take on this team?
Brian Cashman talked about how the Yankees are not waving the white flag. I think that was the quote that he wanted to get across, talking about the Yankees are making some moves. They're going forward. They have young players that they want to work into the mix, but he said this is by no means a team that is waving the white flag. And I think that's the thing you see when you are down here in Tampa, just how much and how excited the Yankees are about the youth and the players that are coming up and the players that they feel can contribute. That's why I go back to Bird and Judge and Sanchez having another solid year. And that you're looking for those young players to come up and not just be players, but be strong contributors.
Ground ball to second. Let's see if they turn 2. There's one on to first. It's not a double play as Choi has the ball go right through his glove. A run will score, and it's 4-2 Yankees. That's And the return throw from second was not handled by Choi.
It looks like a routine double play. The throw is on the money this time, and as Michael called it, right through the glove of Choi. That's an E3 that will allow the Phillies to score their second run of the inning. Everything looks good until right here.
Here's Chris Coughlin with a runner at second. It's 4-2. The Yankees lead. We're in the top of the 7th inning at Steinbrenner Field. Beautiful Friday afternoon. Breaking balls a strike.
I mentioned earlier in the game that this is the time of spring where you could see some sloppy baseball. And the last couple of innings we saw a little bit from the Phillies. They had an error in the bottom of the 6th, and now the Yankees with 2 errors here in the 7th.
You know, Joe Girardi said earlier how this is a different camp and there's a lot of teaching going on. I know one of the emphasis that the coaches have this year is specifically defense by the pitchers. Yankee pitchers, if you look at the numbers, Jack, they were dreadful last year defensively.
Yeah, I think they were second in the American League or second in the majors in errors, and you could see the day the Yankees did their pitchers fielding practice, PFP. If you've been to spring training, you know it's a daily routine. It's part of what a team has to do. You could see that there was a little more excitement and a little more intensity around those workouts. That yes, you go through it and you try and make sure that you make the plays, but there was definitely more awareness about that among the Yankees. And you look at a guy like Dellin Betances. We asked Joe Girardi about Dellin Betances and the ability to field his position, and Dellin has talked about some adjustments that he has made and attacking the ball, going and getting the ball, as we see a strikeout there by Montgomery, and not just heaving it like you're throwing a frisbee at the beach, but take that ball, whip it to first base. And I know from talking to David Cohn, who was a good athlete himself, he said a lot of players, a lot of pitchers, they're not always accustomed to having to do something with the ball. They get that ball and they freeze a little bit. Cohn said that what helped him was the ability to throw sidearm. He got the ball, and he felt when he fielded a ball to throw sidearm to first base was his comfort zone.
Goodell chops one to short. Torres gets another try, fires to first, and that will do it. But 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 errors, and 1 man left. Time for the 7th inning stretch. 4-2 Yanks. All right, it's time for the game summary here in Tampa, and it's brought to you by Lexus. Yankees lead this one 4-2, 4-5-2 for the Yanks, 2-2-1 for the Phils. Asher started for the Phillies. He came over the Phillies in the Cole Hamels deal. 2 innings, 2 hits, a home run off the bat of Gregorius. And Brian Mitchell, a solid 2 innings as he's battling for one of those 2 rotation spots that are open. 1 strikeout, didn't walk a batter. Monster home runs by Gregorius and Judge, each a solo blast. And Miguel Andujar picked up an RBI triple for the Yankees, and that came in the 6th inning. So it's 4-2 as we go to the bottom of the 7th. And the new pitcher for the Phillies is Sean Burnett. Ten games last year with Washington. 5 hits and 5 2/3. New center fielder for the Phillies is Cameron Perkins. And Nick Williams takes over in right for Chris Coughlin. All right, so we're all set as we move to the bottom of the 7th inning. And here's Rob Refsnyder, his first at bat, batting in the number 9 hole, vacated by Aaron Judge. Judge was 1 for 2 with that long home run off the scoreboard in left center. Refsnyder grounds one left side, fielded by Featherstone. He makes the throw to first, 1 away.
Michael, quick story about Refsnyder. He went to the videotape to steal a line from Warner Wolf, the former New York sportscaster, in the offseason. He said he studied a ton of videotape of both himself and hitters that he thought were similar to him, or at least in body type. So a guy like Brian Dozier, he wanted to look at Dozier because he was trying to pick up how he could get more power into his swing. And it's going to sound very similar to what I said about Aaron Judge before, but Refsnyder discovered that he wasn't grounding his back hip, and he felt that if he gets that back leg grounded, he can get more baseballs in the air. He said there were too many times he saw a 2-0 pitch and maybe he'd hit a single to the right side, and that was a ball that he should be putting into the gap or putting over the wall. So he said he hopes that that videotape work that he did correlates into some improvement and more power this season.
Kind of reminds me of Josh Donaldson of the Blue Jays. He was giving a clinic for some kids last year, Jack, and he was talking about how the coaches always tell the kids swing down on the ball, hit the ball. He said, forget all of that. Lift and separate. Get the ball in the air and try to hit it out of the ballpark.
Dustin Fowler with a 1-2 count. Another highly thought of Yankee prospect. And that one is driven to right center field. That is going to be trouble. That ball is going to be off the wall. Fowler around second. He's going to third. Here's the throw. He's in there with a triple.
Well, you mentioned he's highly thought of, and when he got to second, he turned it into another gear and beat the throw to third for the 3-base hit. First of all, this ball is hit very well. First the power and now the speed. And as you can see, the Philly outfielders give up on catching it. Well, good acoustics in this ballpark. Right here, he decides I'm going to third, and he has another gear to get there.
Gleyber Torres fouls it back as the Phillies bring the infield in.
Well, Torres has a chance to get that run back. He was an error that he made opened the door somewhat.
Mentioned he won the MVP in the Arizona Fall League. Fly ball right field. This should get a run in. Catch is made on the warning track by Williams. Tagging and scoring easily is Fowler. A sac fly for Torres, and it's 5-2 Yankees. We've talked a lot today about the Yankee top prospects. So many people are impressed. Baseball America has ranked the top 10 for the Yankees. Torres is first, Frazier second. Draft pick Blake Rutherford third, then Jorge Mateo, James Caprillion, Judge, Sheffield, Adams. Fowler's number 9. You just saw him hit that triple, and Domingo Acevedo is number 10. And that doesn't have Andujar on that list. And there are different lists out there, Jack, but most people say the Yankees have either the first or the second best farm system in baseball.
And Gleyber Torres is not only the Yankees' top prospect, he's a top 5 prospect in all of baseball. And Meredith already gave a thumbnail sketch of him. But one other reason that the Yankees are excited about him is he's a 20-year-old kid who has plate discipline and pitch recognition. That doesn't always happen at the age of 20. We see where he is, number 5 in Baseball America. He's already conquered something that 24, 25, 26-year-old minor leaguers don't figure out. He's not going to swing at that pitch that's out of the zone. So you see those Yankees who are in the top 100, and if you're a Yankee fan, you look at that list and you get excited at the opportunity to see those players as they make their way to the major leagues.
2-1 count on Higashioka, and he hits a deep fly ball to left field. Goodell back on the track at the wall. See ya! A home run for Higashioka, and the Yankees now lead 6-2. 3 home runs for the Yankees on an afternoon where the wind is actually blowing in.
That cleared everything in left field.
Hey, ready.
Now, I'm sure Lake Steinbrenner's still behind the, we can't see it the way we used to with the cabanas, but this is on its way to Lake Steinbrenner. That noise when a pitcher hears it after throwing a ball, it's like somebody just punched you right in the gut.
He's got power. Combined at AA and AAA last year, 21 home runs. The Yankees talk about his pitch framing and how they like the defensive side of his game, but this guy's got an offensive side to his game too.
20+ homers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Thank you, bud. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Now everybody moves up a level with Gary Sanchez up here, so Higashioka not too far from the big leagues. The Yankees have liked him for a while. The 3-0. There's a strike to Castillo. So the Yankees get the 2 runs back that they gave up in the top of the 7th because of the sloppy defense. A triple and a home run, a sac fly accounting for the 2 runs. And they're up 6-2.
Ow.
Count 3-2, and you hear someone say, ouch.
The ball got a piece of the foot of Castillo.
Ow.
Heard it again. Here's the 3-2. Fly ball, left field. Goodell battles the sun and makes the play for the final out. But the Yankees get 2 runs on 2 hits. Nobody left. We go to the 8th. 6-2 Bombers.
topic of conversation when we walked into the clubhouse, a lot of your teammates talking about it, realizing it's early in spring. What did it feel like to get a hold of a ball like that in just your second at-bat?
You know, it felt great. You know, today I was just trying to go in there and see some pitches, take some quality swings at good strikes, and, you know, I feel like I accomplished that today.
Now, you made some adjustments this offseason. Describe those adjustments you made in the batter's box and how you think they'll help you moving forward.
You know, I just really worked on getting in my legs, you know, feeling like I was in a strong position to swing from, you know. And when I'm in a strong position, I feel like I can, you know, kind of drive any pitch.
What are your expectations for 2017, and what do you think you need to show this team to become the starting right fielder?
Just be consistent, you know, be consistent out in right field or anywhere in the outfield. Be consistent at the plate, swing at strikes, and just be a consistent part of this lineup. You know, we got a great team. We got great teammates. We got a great pitching staff. So, you know, I'm just excited to be a part of it.
How far do you think that ball went?
Couldn't tell you.
Aaron, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
Michael and Kenny, we'll send it back up to you.
All right, thanks, Meredith. He is very humble, and I think the Yankees like that about him as well. He's not going to stand and pose or anything like that or talk about it, but that was an incredible shot.
That was 450 if it was an inch.
And guys, one more thing the Yankees liked about him, Michael, much in the vein of what you just said. When he told me he worked out with batting coach Alan Cockrell in New York this offseason, I said, was that prompted by the Yankees asking you to do that, or was that something that you initiated it? He said he initiated it because he felt like last year when he was a young player trying to get acclimated to the major leagues, there's a pecking order. And Cockrell was working with a lot of the veteran players, and sometimes he would be off to the side doing his own thing. And he really wanted that one-on-one training. So he booked the time with Cockrell. They went to Yankee Stadium and they worked on some of the things Meredith just asked him about and that we talked about earlier.
Logan Moore fouls off a couple, still 2-2 against Jordan Montgomery. It's been all Yankees. 6-2, they've never trailed. They're 1-0 after 1, 2-0 after 5, 4-0 after 6, and now it's 6-2 after 7. We're here in the 8th. And the 2-2. Now it's 3-2. I was talking with former Jet and Bills coach Rex Ryan and his brother Rob on the field before the game. And Rex Ryan said, I guarantee you, he said, 3-2 pitches. 75% of the first 3-2 pitch a batter faces will be fouled off. Not that time. Grounded to short. One away. He was in rare form today, and he said, I told that stat to everybody. He said, you watch a game, 75% of the first 3-2 pitch a batter sees, he will foul off. There's Rex and Rob, and both of them make me look very slim, so that's a good feeling.
Michael, did you talk to him at all about his affinity for the board game Stratomatic?
Yes, and he was singing the praise of Kenny Singleton.
I love that game, and Ben Spiegel for the New York Times actually did a story where he played a game with Rex, and I thought it was so cool that he knew his baseball that well, and he knew the different numbers. I don't want to bore people who don't know the game, but there's different things on the card and what they signify. He loved Kenny because Kenny was an on-base machine.
Right.
Yeah,
he got on.
I had met Rex years ago when he was a defensive coach for the Ravens, that back in the day with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. What did he tell us, Michael? Good players make you look good.
Yeah.
Well, those are two Hall of Famers. And the night I met him, he rattled off my statistics. He knew stats about me that I didn't know about myself.
Well, I was talking to the two of them, and you were on the other side, I think talking to McCannon. And he goes, oh, there's Ken Singleton. And I said, yeah. He said, well, oh, he's the best. He's the best. I said, yeah, he's a real good broadcaster. He goes, no, he's the best Stratomatic card ever. And there he's teaching everybody to swing. And
Torres is busy.
2 away. One other quick story he told. He said, you know, when I was the coach of the Jets, he said, you know, the Mets were having those problems financially. He said, I went up to Woody's office, Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets. I said, buy the Mets, buy the Mets. And Woody said, why? He said, make me the GM. I'll quit as the coach. I'll be the GM of the Mets. I'm telling you, I was so great at Stratomatic, I'd be a great GM. Here's Taylor Featherston. Swing and a miss. Looks like Rex might be getting into broadcasting.
Buffalo still owes him, though, don't they?
A lot.
3 years?
3
left?
years at 5.5 a year.
So you can show up for spring training games on a lazy Friday afternoon and not have a care in the world.
But you know what? He said something that really resonated. He said, "Yeah, I don't have to worry about things right now." He said, "But a lot of my coaches got fired, and they don't have those 3 years." He said that really stinks. He said, "Rob, though, he had a 2-year deal, so he's got 1 year coming." Montgomery has settled down after the Yankee defense was shaky behind him in the 7th. Another try. Andujar charges, but it's a foul ball. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the New York Yankees and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the New York Yankees. You know, late at night, winter nights, I read this.
You know,
just to feel connected to the game.
You probably can say it in your sleep.
I'll ask Jody. If I'm reading the disclaimer in my sleep,
she's going to wonder what the heck.
Here's the pitch. Fly ball right side. Ref Snyder will make the play as the Phillies go down in order 1-2-3. Let's go to the bottom of the 8th. Yankees lead this one 6-2.
The spring, 2 hitless innings. What do you hope to accomplish this early in the spring season?
I mean, I think the first outing is really more or less getting your feet wet and get back into that game speed, and felt good today.
Last year, you were set to make the team, obviously had that injury. Do you feel like you're in a totally different place coming into camp this time around, knowing that you would have made the team last year?
No, I mean, I don't really take anything for granted. I'm just kind of worried about when I'm pitching right now and just trying to make the best out of it.
Is there anything in particular that you feel like you need to work on or you need to perfect this spring?
I'm developing a splitter, so you could say I'm working on that. So I'll be doing that throughout the spring. But for the most part, no, just command of the fastball is big for me, so I'll work on that too.
That pitch isn't exactly the easiest to get a handle on. How do you go about that? Who do you talk to? A guy like Tanaka?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's definitely a good person to draw from, and Larry's been helping with a lot too, so it's coming along good.
Brian, thanks for the time.
No problem.
Guys, back to you.
I thank you, Brian and Meredith. So Mitchell went the first 2, struck out 1, didn't walk a batter, didn't allow a runner. Luis Garcia, the 5th pitcher used by the Phillies, facing Ji-Man Choi. Laced to third base and caught by Featherston for the first out. You know, you look at Mitchell, and we talked about the toe injury last year, and we mentioned how fortune has not been in his lane. Remember, a couple of years ago, hit in the face with a batted ball. So, I mean, this guy really has had bad luck. So it's got to turn for him, you would hope.
I think it was Eduardo Nunez who hit the ball. Yeah. I'll tell you what, he was tremendous today. And the Yankee pitching been great this afternoon. I think Joe Girardi, that's the number one thing he's going to talk about besides the power.
Ruben Tejada with a ground ball up the middle, a base hit. So for Ruben, a walk and now a single in his 2 plate appearances. You know, one of the things Joe Girardi always says at the beginning of camp, he talks to the young players and the pitchers specifically. He said, you're not going to make the team the first time out. Don't try to do too much. Don't worry about results. But is that realistic when you know you're battling for a rotation spot on a major league team, not only a major league team, but the New York Yankees? How do you control that? How do you not try to strike everybody out?
I think if you're Mitchell, you do exactly what you did last spring. Whatever his focus was last spring, he came out here and was essentially the Yankees' best starting pitcher. His numbers last spring were tremendous. He had the injury that you guys talked about. So if he can just keep his mindset where it was last year, this guy is somebody who the Yankees can and should be excited about. A fastball 96, 97, the curve.
Andujar with a deep fly ball to left, and that ball is going to be off the wall. Tejada will round third. They'll hold him up right there. And Andujar with a double, and he is 2 for 2, a triple and a double. And we told you what A-Rod thought about him. A lot of people think this kid can really play.
Explosive off the bat. Now Goodell here, I know it's early in spring training, but he tries to just trail this ball, just run it down over the shoulder type catch instead of getting back to the wall. This ball was headed for faraway places. It's more catchable than he made it look. And of course it falls in for the double. The Yankees are in business, 2nd and 3rd, and 1 out. I don't think he played that ball particularly well.
So the infield in with Clint Frazier at the plate, 2nd and 3rd with 1 man out. Bottom of the 8th, Yankees lead 6-2. Garcia sets and deals to Frazier. 1-0.
Michael, if I could tease our Yankee Access Prospect show again on Sunday, Clint Frazier told us a great story about being in Scranton and having a game where he wasn't too happy with himself, and still in uniform, Reggie Jackson said, get in my car. Got in Reggie's car. Reggie, obviously a special advisor to the Yankees. They stopped at a frozen yogurt store.
Fly ball, right center. On the run is Williams. He can't make the play. It gets by him and goes to the wall. 1 run will score. They're waving Andujar home. He will score, and Frazier's at 3rd with 2 RBIs, and the Yankees lead 8-2.
Well, Jack, this is certainly going to make Reggie smile, whatever he told him. Nick Williams out in right field with a valiant effort, comes up short. There's that quick swing you're talking about. Good power to the opposite field. Williams can't haul it in. The Yankees are going to have 2 runs. Now, on this play, Frazier's going to end up at 3rd base. And I'm not so sure he picked up Joe Espada right away. But see how quick he is with the bat through the zone?
Here's Refsnyder with the infield in again. There's a strike.
Here's another look at it. And he's got pretty good speed as well. He gets the 2nd here, but he's just running. Jack, I'm hungry. What about the yogurt?
Well, what Reggie said was, you get a fastball on the outside, hit it the opposite way, and pick me up a strawberry yogurt while you're up there. No, he didn't say that. But it was a lesson from Reggie to Clint Frazier, and Clint Frazier said, I can't believe I'm walking into a frozen yogurt shop with Reggie Jackson. We still have our uniforms on, but Reggie just wanted to talk to him about the mental side of the game. He said, you're going to have some failures in this game. Don't let it get you down.
A single off the bat of Refsnyder. Frazier held up. He hustles home. He scores. Refsnyder an RBI single, and the Yankees pouring it on here in the bottom of the 8th inning. They're up 9-2. And the access show that Jack is talking about will be Sunday after the Yankees and the Blue Jays right here on Yes. So Clint Frazier gets a triple. It's a run scored. Feels good about things. First spring training game here with the Yanks. Ref Snyder gets a single. Here's Fowler, triple his last time up. You know, Kenny, you mentioned he might not have picked up Espada. In fact, Andujar was stopped at third. And Espada then sees that Frazier was running up his back, and I think that's what they're talking to him about right now. And then Espada had to quickly wave home Andujar to open a spot for Frazier to get to third base. Fowler tries to check his swing, he goes around.
School is in session. And if you're going to listen to anybody, you're going to listen to the manager.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss. Fowler down on strikes.
Usually a manager will end with nice hitting. Here's the base running that Michael's talking about. Andujar turning it on, but Frazier, you know, he was determined to get to third base. And to throw kind of short hop the third baseman Featherston, or else there might have been a play at third.
Well, Andujar did not think he was going to get waved home. He did slow down right around third and then saw Espada, who had spied Frazier, and he scored easily, so that was the proper move. But Frazier does have to pick up Espada. He's Gleyber Torres.
Yankees have hammered out 11 hits this afternoon. That's, you know, we were talking about the pitching. Larry Rothschild will be happy about that. The pitching coach, hitting coach, Alan Cockrell, his assistant Marcus Thames, will be happy about the 11 hits, 3 home runs.
There's a strike.
When you see a player like Gleyber Torres, 20 years old, you know he's going to start the season at AA Trenton. I think fans are out there saying, well, when is he going to get to Yankee Stadium? And Brian Cashman has already said we're probably looking at 2 years. That's because he doesn't want to put a lot of pressure on him. Torres will dictate the timeline.
Yeah.
If Torres goes to Trenton and dominates, and the Yankees feel that he has conquered that level, and they move him to Scranton and the same thing happens, I think by giving the 2-year time frame, Brian Cashman is basically saying, go have a solid AA season, go have a solid AAA season, get to the major leagues at 22. That's pretty good. But again, Torres will dictate his path to the majors.
Well, Torres is 5th in all of baseball. Who were the 4 ahead of him? Andrew Benintendi of the Red Sox, Yoan Moncada, who went from the Red Sox to the White Sox in the Sale deal, Dansby Swanson of the Braves, and Alex Reyes, who really hurt the Cardinals by hurting his elbow and having to undergo Tommy John surgery. Otherwise, he would have been in their rotation this year.
I think Benintendi's the odds-on favorite to win Rookie of the Year this year. Good-looking prospect for the Boston Red Sox.
The Red Sox would not let him go in the Chris Sale deal. That was a player that was not someone they were going to get rid of.
Rounded to short. And Florimon makes the play. We thank Jack Curry. We go to the 9th inning. If the Yankees score 3 more, they leave 1 on. It's been all Yankees, 9-2 over the Phils. It's been all Yankees, first spring training game of the year, and we'll take a look now at the Chevy play of the game.
Well, let's take a look. Let's go all the way back to the first inning. That sound will tell you what's going to happen alone. Home run for Didi Gregorius, his first at bat of the spring. Put the Yankees on top, 1-0 early in this game.
New pitcher for the Yankees is Giovanni Gallegos. Good numbers in the minors last year. 42 games, 7-2, 1.27, 106 strikeouts in 78 innings. So it'll be fun to get a look at Giovanni Gallegos.
And they only hit $175 against him.
So he's going to face the top of the Phillies order. We start with Scott Kingery, who reached on an E6 in the 7th, and that was the first Phillies base runner. 9-11-2, leading 2-2-1, top of the 9th. 1-0. Pitch outside, 2-0.
Gallegos just 25 years old. He's from Mexico. Pitched at both Trenton and Scranton Wilkes-Barre. 2 years ago, pitched at Tampa, Trenton, and Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Yankees signed him back in 2011.
There's a strike. Now the Phillies actually played a game yesterday. Yankees did not. Phillies played against the University of Tampa. Does not count toward their spring training record. But they did win that game 6-0. Losing this one 9-2. Now it's 3-2, and let's put Rex Ryan's percentage into play again. First pitch of a 3-2 count is going to be fouled off.
And some of the professional teams will play a college team to kind of get the ball rolling in spring training.
Chop to third. Andujar fields and fires low, but a nice scoop on the backhand by Choi for the first out. Well, we're seeing the 25%, Kenny, on the 3-2 pitch, not the 75%.
Once again, I said sometimes you see a little sloppy baseball in the early going, although I would think that Andujar might have played some winning ball this year. Nice play by Choi on the other end.
So here's Cameron Perkins. Breaking ball is inside.
Speaking of playing college teams, and usually, you know, the professional teams win. But we played the University of Miami one year, and after they took all the regulars out, went on to lose the game. Earl Weaver went nuts. And I just said, he's guaranteed the regulars. We're going to play at least 7 innings next year. It's not going to be any of these 4 innings and get back on the bus and go back to the stadium. He was chapped.
Rare for him. He always seemed like he was in a good mood.
Every day.
2-1. Fly ball, right field. Ball really carrying, and that one carries out of the ballpark for a home run for Perkins. And the Yankees lead 9-3 now.
Perkins, his first home run of the spring. He'll be happy on the way back to Clearwater.
Pinch hitting for the DH Daniel Nava is Dylan Cousins.
Now, this is the young man that the Phillies are speaking about in terms of the power that Aaron Judge has. Now, Cousins hit a home run yesterday in that game against University of Tampa.
High pop up, right side. Choi giving it a look. It's out of play. Cousins with 40 home runs in the minors last year.
Remember, they only play 140 games in the minors. But he doesn't look the part of a power hitter.
There's a strike. Also, he struck out 186 times. Now, I was reading comments attributed to Don Mattingly, the manager of the Marlins, and he said, people talk about pace of play. He said, the pace of play would be picked up if strikeouts were not so accepted. He said, now you can strike out 200 times as long as you hit home runs, we want you. He said, if you put kind of a poison pill on strikeouts and say it's not going to be accepted anymore, people put the ball in play and there will be a greater pace to the game.
I agree wholeheartedly. It takes pitches to strike somebody out, at least 3, and sometimes you get the full counts. And Rex Ryan says, what, 75% of those are fouled off, so that takes time.
Well, Kenny, we were in a seminar and we heard an unbelievable stat. Last year, 21% of all plate appearances in the big leagues ended in a strikeout. Yeah. 21%. Swing and a miss. He goes down on strikes. Yankees an out away from a win.
A lot of walks are up too, so that's.
And if you add in walks, a third of all plate appearances end in a strikeout or a walk. So that's a lot of nothing.
A lot of nothing. Inaction.
But the way the game is built now and played, front offices will trade the strikeouts for the home runs.
Well, when you look at the way pitching staffs are,
yeah,
all the bullpens are packed with 95 plus, high octane.
Pitch outside to Brock Stassi.
And we were talking about it before the game. You go back to the late 90s and the early 2000s, and the whole thing for the Yankees, their offensive approach was get the starter out of the game and get to the underbelly of the bullpen. Those guys did not throw as hard. Well, now each team to combat that is stacked all their bullpens with guys who throw 95 plus. And these are guys you might not want to see. It's all about the radar guns.
Gallego steals the 1-1. Drilled to right field, and that ball is gone into the bleachers. A home run for Stassi. And it's 9-4 Yankees here in the top of the 9th. So a couple of solo shots by the Phillies here in the 9th. Yankees still an out away with a 5-run lead.
Tell you what, the ball is flying today.
Here's Nick Williams. Williams pops it up. Andujar bat near the seats. Can't make the play. So 0-1. Fifth spot in the order. This is where Coughlin started the game. He was 0 for 3. A couple of fly balls to center and a strikeout. So this is Williams' first at bat. Lined into center field. It is a base hit for Williams. So the Phillies still alive here in the ninth. And they will send up a pinch hitter for Tyler Goodell. It's Rhys Hoskins. So runner on first, 2 outs. Hoskins pinch hitting for Goodell. Big numbers at Reading Double-A. 38 and 116 with a 377 on base percentage.
Pretty good 1-2 punch, he and Cousins.
Not holding the runner on. Runner goes. He will take second. First pitch is low.
There's our first defensive indifference of the year.
Nine for Yankees. Highlights for the Yankees in this game: the home run by Gregorius, Aaron Judge's monster mash, Higashioka with a home run as well, triple by Frazier, triple by Fowler. Young kids chip in as well. Yankees pound out 11 hits, 9 runs, hoping that's enough for the win.
Good thing on the pitching side, the first 4 pitchers, no runs on no hits in 6 innings. 4 strikeouts. The Yankees have not walked a batter today, so that's a good sign of getting the ball over the plate.
And of particular interest, because the 4th and 5th spots in the rotation will be so heavily discussed and dissected throughout spring training. 2 shutout innings for Mitchell, 2 shutout innings for Sessa. 2 of the 5 that are trying to get those 2 jobs. Tomorrow, Warren starts in Clearwater against the Phillies, and Severino on Sunday against Toronto, and that game will be on Yes at 1. There's a strike. Another full count, so we put Rex's stat to the test. I asked Rex, I said, well, where'd you get that stat? He goes, oh, I got it. Crowd looking for a strikeout, looking for the final out of the game. 3-2, 2 outs, 9th inning. Gallegos deals. Chop to first. Choro fields. Flips to Gallegos, and the Yankees win 9-4. In the 9th inning, Phillies score 2 on 3 hits, and they lead 1. And the Yankees' long 2017 journey begins this afternoon in Tampa, and they start it with a victory by a score of 9-4.